This is the Startupsdilse podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Do us a favor, subscribe on YouTube or LinkedIn, and be sure to give us your feedback. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello everyone, this is Anthony Prakash. Welcome to a brand new episode of Startupsdilse. I'm super happy to welcome Matija from Vision. He's the founder and CEO, and we're going to be talking to him about a topic I know very little about sailing, boating, anchoring, and things like that. But guess what? I mean, he thinks there's a superb opportunity there to make sailing and boating safe and efficient and climate conscious for anyone who is out there in the waters. So Matija, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. Super appreciate it. And yeah, I'd love to tell you about what we do and how we came across it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for taking the time. So I know you're from Slovenia. You're my first guest from Slovenia, or I've had guests from Germany in the past. Why don't you kick us off, Matija, by telling us a little bit about yourself? I mean, having gone through your background, I mean, you come from a very different background before to sailing and boating. So just maybe talk us through your life in Slovenia, Ljubljana, and what brought you to Vision, so to speak.
Yeah. So basically, I come from a background of creative. I started my career or my interest in the music industry. So I played bass. I still play bass. I had a band, did some touring around Europe. Then I actually went to the UK to study music, because as we all once wanted to be rock stars, and played for a while, started doing music production as well. And that got me into video. So then I moved back and did a master's in video and new media, so visually. And yeah, kind of the creative aspect always was interesting to me, connecting music and then video. Then basically, yeah, I started my own video production company, which was pretty cool, working for big clients like Amazon, Energizer, Volkswagen, and others. But yeah, then a few years ago, one of the co-founders and I, we rented a boat in Croatia, and we were anchored in a beautiful bay and went for a swim. And then we got back on the boat and we found out we moved, and we were 50 meters close to shore and we almost crashed. So we said, okay, let's raise the anchor to get it out of there. But the chain was really light, so we knew okay, something's wrong. And basically we lost the anchor and we had no idea. So that got us thinking, okay, yeah, we're pretty fresh with operating a boat, but are we incapable of doing this, or is this something that happens to other people as well? And that kind of got us into starting a company that solves this. As we started doing interviews with hundreds of captains of different ages and skill level. At first we thought, okay, this could be something that, I don't know, younger or fresh boat operators experience, but then we saw it's a global problem, and even experienced captains experience it. So yeah, we said, okay, let's make a solution for this. And yeah, then we started brainstorming how we could do this. We started chatting to Andrej, the third co-founder, and yeah, in the end, we came up with a smart buoy. So it's a plug-and-play solution that attaches to any anchor, and it transmits the data to the user so they can stay safe.
Fascinating. I mean, it's amazing, how many founders go through the pain of, just the personal experience of, the problem that they're trying to solve for, and that is when everything clicks and say, okay, I mean, this could be an opportunity to do that. But given the fact that, I mean, you've done nothing related to, this sort of venture, especially say, I mean, obviously you did in tech, music, and things like that too, going into uncharted waters, literally, right? With something like anchoring. I mean, what gave you the conviction to say, okay, you know what, I mean, I have it in me to go solve for something like this. And obviously you've picked a couple of co-founders, look like, to solve for this. I mean, what was that thought process like?
Yeah, the thing was we've all like built some kind of products in the past, like nothing at this scale before. Like Andrej, he was marketing like a Kickstarter campaign for a stand-up paddleboard that's motorized. It was called SIPA boards. That got like 700K on Kickstarter. So he had like a bit of experience with startups in the past as well. Anže and I, we started like sailing the seas, always being close to us, and we were all like a little bit nuts, like I guess most founders are, because you go against the world by making something that will, like, you build from zero to something that becomes used by everyone in the industry, right? Like that's the goal. So yeah, we didn't think that hard like into the future. We just said, okay, how can we solve it? How can we make it? So we went through iterations of the product. So initially we thought, okay, let's make a smart anchor, like that's an actual anchor, but people don't like changing their anchors, and not one anchor works on all surfaces equally. So you have like an anchor that's going to hold really well in sand. You have an anchor that's better for like, I don't know, mud or rocks, and people are attached to it. So yeah, then in the end, Andrej came up with like a solution that said, okay, let's do an anchor buoy. So it's a floating device that attaches to the anchor, and it floats on top. It was used to mark the position of the anchor, so you can see it like from your boat, so you know, okay, it's there. And for anyone that's coming into the anchorage, they know, okay, that boat's like anchor is there, so I'm not going to go across it. But then we made it smart. The initial idea a little bit connects a bit with our past, because the initial idea was let's put a camera on it as well. So we built a prototype of a camera buoy, so you could see it on your phone as well. And that was like the trigger. That was amazing. Like anyone who saw it was, oh, this is awesome. But then, yeah, with the feedback, with the market that we got, like from the boat shows, like we can, like a lot of sailboat owners are, yeah, make it lighter, make it smaller. So yeah, we pivoted and changed the product like 15 times until we got to what it is now.
That is awesome. So speaking of what it is now versus, just looking back, right? I mean, how has your journey been? I mean, how long have you been at this, Matija, and what stage are you in terms of, say, adoption? You mentioned, you've been to a bunch of these boat shows and elsewhere. Obviously, you're based in Slovenia. I mean, you have so much of water bodies, whether it's, the Mediterranean or other seas around. I mean, I see the passion for it. I mean, especially in your part of the world. I mean, but speak a little bit about where you are in your journey. I mean, what stage is VisionAnchor in, and what are your plans, say, for the next 18 to 24 months?
Yeah, we started in the middle of the pandemic. So in 2020, with the initial idea, we went through like the first incubator, which luckily put us on the path of not being stuck in a garage and just building, but actually going out and talking to people to see what where the biggest pain lies. So yeah, with the iterations from the initial camera buoy, which was too big, too heavy, too complex to build at scale for a startup that just started, to basically with the right people on the team, with the right advisors, we got to like a product that's modular, that we're using additive manufacturing. So basically we can iterate quite quickly and build them anywhere we want. And yeah, smaller, lighter, better. So we went through the Techstars program a few months ago. And yeah, they helped us out with like the big vision. So we made 10 beta units that we sent around the world to get the feedback. And now basically we've done some pre-orders. We sold out the first batch of units, and we started doing deliveries after 3 years to the first customers that ordered the units a few months ago. So yeah, it was a really, the path was ups and downs because none of us have built like a hardware product in the past, and it was learning something new each week. Basically coming from different backgrounds, like we all had links to it, but none of us could like work on a physical like electronics product that needs to survive in harsh environments like sea, salt, like high temperatures and low. So yeah, that was definitely fun. But yeah, going back, the plan for the next 2 years in 25, definitely the US market is one of our goals. We've had a lot of interest, like we weren't even marketing in the US, and people keep finding us and sending us messages. Hey, can you ship one to the US? I'd love to have it. So that's one of our biggest goals. Like we've done test campaigns in the Mediterranean. We've got a few distributors here in Europe as well. So yeah, the next logical goal is the US, and yeah, Australia after that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see for sure that the U.S. market would be super hot for this. I mean, once you get it going and people have, I mean, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, the number of boats docked in, every nook and corner where you see water, all of them can potentially use it, right? Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, Matija, one of the questions I had in my mind is, I mean, when you decided saying, you and your co-founder decided saying, okay, this is an opportunity, and amongst all your interviews and speaking to captains and all of that, I mean, obviously, speaking to them is one thing, but looking at it from a market perspective and understanding, okay, here's the market potential. What would you say is the market opportunity out there in terms of just rough dollars, so to speak?
Yeah, we've done some research. We've looked into like how many boats are there in the world, and there is like 20 million boats registered each year in Europe, USA, and Australia, which is a surprising number. But the sweet spot for us is like boats between 25 and 75 feet. Because people spend their nights on these boats, right? And that's where the pain's the biggest, because you don't know what's happening. When you're asleep, you listen for any sound, right? Okay, especially if the weather changes. Like if there's a storm coming and you're on anchor, you're not going to sleep. Yeah. Even if like there's some wind and you're still pretty close to shore, like the person who's in charge on that boat is not going to get a lot of shut eye. So this is like the biggest pain point. But obviously we're looking at fleets as well. So you got like charter companies that want to have like an overview of what's happening. So if there is an unpredictable storm coming, which is happening more and more, they know like, okay, these guys seem to be anchored pretty well. Okay, these guys seem to be dragging every night. So maybe have something ready to go save them if bad comes to worst. And yeah, some like commercial fleets of smaller vessels that have to be on some location anchored for a while. Because yeah, it takes away, like normally with bigger vessels, you need a crew member that's in charge for anchor watch overnight, right? So they have to keep checking the GPS and see if the boat's moved or what's happening. So, and even that fails sometimes. So this way they could just have like an app on a smartwatch and just make sure if anything starts to happen, to get a notification instantly.
Got it. And before you started developing this, I mean, did you kind of scan the market to see if there's anything like this out there? I mean, do you have any competitors doing anything similar?
Yeah, the first thing was obviously, okay, has someone invented this? How are people solving it at the moment, right? And the first, like, initially we started with a video buoy, and the most common answer was, well, I jump in the water and I go check physically if my anchor is holding. But if you look at it, that's assurance, which lasts until you get back on the boat. If the wind changes, if the weather changes in the middle of the night, you're not going to go check it. So a lot of people are using like anchor alarm apps. So they track your phone's position. So you're on the boat, and if the boat moves, it's doing calculations, right, where the anchor should be, where the boat is. But your phone's GPS can jump for like 30 feet, and what happens? You get alarms in the middle of the night, false alarms, which just gets you frustrated, and then you give up, you turn it off, and then you don't sleep. There are like lately a few other similar solutions coming to the market. Ones like, I can mention them, Anchor Guardian. They're a Swiss company startup that's got a solution that actually attaches to the anchor, but they're aimed more at like super yachts, bigger boats. It requires a modification to the hull. And yeah, there's like some other smart buoys, but we basically start creating the market category of like smart anchor buoy, that smart anchoring.
Yeah, that is always fascinating. Even in a startup, we were trying to disrupt the market by creating a brand new category. The exercise that you go through to try to do that, I mean, it is scary, but pretty fascinating. For a lot of big companies have succeeded in that model. So go ahead.
You need to educate the people about it. Like there's the caveat to it, right? Like, yeah, we're creating a new market category. Awesome. But if people don't know what it is, and you need to do like some educating, like introducing the solution to the people so they even know what to search for.
Yeah. And you mentioned the app a couple of times that the buoy tries to connect to these. So is there a live connectivity needed for in your phone, or I mean, let's say you're in the middle of the water, middle of the ocean rather. I mean, how does that work? I mean, is it Bluetooth, or how do you do that connection?
I like, Anthony, I love it how you said how it tries to connect to your phone. Luckily for us, it's a super secure connection, right? The first problem we had was exactly what you mentioned. So we used Wi-Fi for connecting directly from the phone to the buoy, and that was unreliable at times, right? Because I don't know, if you have a boat and you go like a little bit underwater, like where you normally sleep, you can lose the connection quite quickly. So how we solved that was using like an intermediary device. So you've got like a base unit that you install on your boat that communicates with the buoy. And then the base unit uses Bluetooth Low Energy to connect to your phone. So you have a secure connection, and if you lose your phone, if your battery runs out, you have a backup alarm in the base unit as well. So that's going to start beeping if anything happens.
Yeah, I like that approach. I mean, in a way, it's like a plan A, plan B, plan C sort of thing. I mean, especially
and you don't.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be connected to like LTE, 5G or anything, because sometimes you're anchoring in remote locations where there is no signal and you don't have like cell signal. So we wanted to make sure that like the connection is not reliant on anything else.
Yeah. So far, I mean, I love everything I've heard. This is going to be super useful just in terms of, number one, safety, right? Safety on the board, whether it's a commercial vehicle or even on a family trip, like you said. I mean, just peace of mind is going to be awesome through this. You've also mentioned, an impact on climate or sustainability. I mean, can you explain that a little bit, Matija, as to how this solution caters to that?
Okay. Not many people know, or many people have started to find out that most of the oxygen in our atmosphere doesn't come from land for us, but actually from the sea. And anchoring does a lot of damage to the sea biodiversity. So basically, if you anchor in a certain spot with underwater growth, you're destroying it, and that's irreparable damage. Like there are NGOs that we've been working with that are regrowing the protected seagrass in the Mediterranean. It's called Posidonia or Oceanica. Posidonia, just Google it. And it's similar like with the corals and with other ecosystems. Mm-hmm. And the bigger the anchor, the more the damage, right? So you can imagine like if a huge object falls to the ground and starts dragging all this vegetation, it's destroying it quickly. So the video camera unit was used to actually start mapping the seabed, like different types of vegetation. Is it sand? Is it grass or anything? And with this here, we want to start getting information from the sea as well. So number one is mapping out the protected area. So, okay, this is the sea grass, which is protected. You shouldn't anchor here. Other things are getting data from the sea. So like like sea temperature, wave height, pH, additional information that can be useful, because the good thing about it is basically we can get information about the sea in coastal areas which are super populated as well, because people are using it with their boats. So far, like big research buoys weren't able, like you're not going to put a huge research buoy that tracks data in a hugely populated area. So with us, we can get this in the populated coastal areas. So we can see like any changes in the environment, in the water temperature, and the pH, which can start telling you information about changes quickly, or like wave height. I don't know, if one of the buoys starts notifying, okay, there's huge waves 50 miles in that direction, and the weather forecast didn't get it, it can notify like all the people in the area as well. Okay, something's happening. So there's a lot to go into here. We're at the start of this journey. Our initial like offering is based on safety, but this is like where we're moving into, and this is really important to us. So we're not like just another piece of plastic in the ocean, but actually are the good guys.
Helpful
like
plastic.
Help out. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I mean, and I learned a bunch through that answer there. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, how much damage those anchors are causing in the bottom of the ocean when you drop it. And I mean,
some countries actually started fining people for anchoring in these areas. I think Spain and the Balearic Islands, they monitor the anchors and they check, and people can get fined up to $250,000 for anchoring in these areas. So the governments are starting to notice as well. So,
oh wow, okay, that is great to know. Thanks for that. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, Matija. I mean, since you're from Slovenia, you're from Ljubljana as well. I've heard through friends of mine about a startup culture or a startup ecosystem of sorts. I mean, even though Slovenia is a small country, you can be a brand ambassador for Slovenia and Ljubljana for a couple of minutes, and tell us a little bit about that particular ecosystem for those who don't know.
Yeah, like Slovenia is a super small country. We've got like 2 million people here. But there are some well-known names, like now since today the first lady is Slovenian again, and we've got Luka Doncic for any basketball fans. But yeah, the starter system for the size of the country is amazing. Like if you look like the amount, there aren't like many unicorns, but I think on the amount of numbers, like the amount of startups, events, accelerators here, and the funds that enable startups to get like some European funds, it's amazing. So I guess that's the good thing about it, that we're small, because you can quickly like get in touch with everyone else. So and there's accelerators and incubators that are helping the super early ones to get started. Like ABC Accelerator is where we started. You've got the Ljubljana University Incubator as well. Mladi Podjetnik, which is like a young entrepreneur, and many others like in most cities as well. Podium is a great conference as well. That's seriously amazing every year. Would recommend coming if anyone's in the area. And yeah, it's really super cool.
Thank you very much for that. And as a founder, I mean, in a way, I would say you're already a serial entrepreneur, given your video production company and now this, and what you've been trying to do. I mean, are there any common patterns that you've seen as a founder where, I mean, what are some of those hard-learned lessons for you as a founder through the years? I mean, for those listening, I mean, this is a startup focus show, and there's a lot of, wannabe founders tuning into this one. Any message you have in terms of, what are your core principles as a founder or as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've had a few fails in the past, obviously, as well. And the most times that I failed was I started building something before actually testing the market, right? So the first thing, like, test the market for free. That was something like fail fast and fail cheap, and like don't put money into something if you don't know, like, until you have some sort of a demand. Obviously, you're not going to have a perfect market fit from the start, but pivoting, changing, and actually finding out that there is a demand instead of just shuffling money into it. Oh, okay, I'm not targeting the right people. Oh, okay, I'm not, and just putting cash into ads. I failed with that a few times in the past. But actually, yeah, having a product that people want or need, that's something that's really important. Because you mentioned like Slovenians are traditionally very, very engineering focused. So everyone's going to build the product in their garage for 3 years, and then they're going to launch it. And sometimes no one's going to buy it, and then you're like, instead of like more, if you look at the US, it's like, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go share the news. I'm going to go ask people. I'm going to get feedback on it. So yeah, I'd say like the biggest core was actually getting something out there that people want. And with VisionAnchor as well, like we started with a more expensive product that was more complex to build, bigger, heavier, which was great. And we did have a lot of demand, but basically the feedback from much bigger piece of the market was make it lighter, make it smaller. I don't need the camera. I've got a sailing boat, space is super tight. So like anything that's this big, if it can be this big, it's a win. So yeah, iterations until you find that sweet spot.
Okay. That is great input. Obviously, fail fast, fail cheap is, I think, an evergreen message. But everything else you said made super sense. So, just to wrap up, back to VisionAnchor, just in terms of where you are in the company, the next steps. I mean, are you fundraising? I mean, are you looking for people to reach out to you if there are angels out there, or what sort of stage are you in right now for those interested in reaching out to you, helping you out, partnering, and those sort of connections?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, anyone, if you have a boat, reach out. If you want to try the product, if you want to buy it, definitely. We are raising around 800K pre-seed. We've got 150 committed. But yeah, like I said, with this, the plan is we're going to be profitable quite quickly in 25, but we want to grow faster, right? We don't want to do batches of 50 units or 100 units and then again doing pre-orders. We want to grow faster, so we want to go quickly to doing batches of 500 units, actually have enough budget to like push marketing harder to get like more distributors on board so we can like create more stock and ship it out. The demand's really like easy to get. Like whenever we introduce this, whoever needs it and understands it is immediately, okay, when can I get it? So the plan, in 25 is to grow faster. US market, like if you're in the US and like have any links to the boating industry, just reach out. We're also at Web Summit in Lisbon. If anyone's there, come and say hi. We're also pitching, so come and support. Next year I'm sure we're going to be in the US a lot. A few boat shows like Tampa, Miami, Annapolis probably as well. So happy to meet anyone.
That is great input for anyone listening. So, Matija, thanks so much for taking the time explaining to the audience about Anchor. That is a super unique but a very important problem that you're trying to solve for. So on behalf of my show, wishing you guys all the best. We'll stay in touch, and I'll publish all the information about Anchor and how they can reach out to you as part of the show. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Anthony. Been a pleasure. Talk soon. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.